and welcome back to my channel. My name's Alana and today you'll be joining me with the Unpopular Opinions book tag. This was originally created by Kashawn over at the Book Archer, so I will leave her channel linked down below for you to check out. I know that this tag is quite old, but I'm also bored. I wanted to do a tag. This seemed like a fun one, so we're gonna do it and it's gonna be fun. I shouldn't have to say this, but all opinions are my own. If I diss one of your favorite books or series, apologies. This is how I feel about them. Let's get into it. So the first question is a popular book or series that you didn't like. Well, if you've been on the channel for a while, you will know that I really don't like The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. Somehow I ended up finishing the entire trilogy just to see if it got better. I read the first one physically by the book, and then the second two I did listen to on audiobook, and it's not for me. It's not for me. The relationship between, like, the main romance in that series, I hated. I don't like toxic relationships. I really don't. I also don't like the whole idea of if someone's mean to you, it's because they actually like you. Can we just not? Pairing up with that, another one that I didn't like reading was A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness. Now, I've only read the first book. I haven't read the other two books in the trilogy. I probably will read the second book at some point because this book did get good about here. So it wasn't good for most of it except for towards the end when the main character grew a bit of a spine. Similar to The Cruel Prince, I didn't love this one because of one of the main characters in it, and that is Matthew. I did not like him. I did not like reading his controlling, possessive character development on page. I was here more for the family history, for the supernatural beings, and for the plot that was starting to amp up, especially towards the end of this book. But Matthew, I don't enjoy him at all. Question number 2 is a popular book or series that everyone else seems to hate but that you love. So I've got 2 answers. It's my video. I'll do what I want. The first one is the Red Queen series by Victoria Aveyard. I see people either really loving this or really hating it. And I would say I am on the stronger side of really liking it. In this one, you have a society where there are reds and there are silvers, and silvers have special abilities and powers and reds don't. They're very much the secondary class and just fed into this huge war machine where they have to go to the front lines. And silvers are your royalty and they basically control everything and everyone. But we have our main character, Mayor Barrow, who is a red, and something happens and she miraculously has some sort of power. Essentially, this series covers a rebellion between the different classes, and I really liked it. I think the reason why people don't like it is because at the end of this first one, there is a really big twist, which broke my heart. And also Mayor Barrow as a main character, she's more on the spiky side. I think people will either understand her or they're just going to clash with her personality, which is fine. I will say the last half of the last book fell a little flat for me, but the rest of it I thoroughly enjoyed. This is YA fantasy. If you like powers and abilities, kind of dystopian, try this one. And the other one is Renegades by Marissa Meyer. This is a trilogy. Again, main character, more kind of spiky. It's her being on the bad guy side of things, but the good guys are not necessarily good. I can see that a few times in this story, like timeline, it kind of dips a little bit, but again, powers and abilities. Are you sensing a theme here? Because I am. I love books where the characters have powers and abilities. Marissa Meyer's writing is also very easy to read. And while the main love interest I didn't like 100% commit to, I still enjoyed this story and what it was trying to do. Question number 3 is a love triangle where the main person didn't end up with the person that you wanted them to end up with, or an OTP or one true pairing that you weren't shipping. This could get a little bit spoilery, but I'll try and keep it as vague as possible. So recently I just finished reading These Hollow Vows by Lexi Ryan. This is the ARC copy, so the advanced reader copy. It looks a little bit different to the final cover, which I will pop here. And I'm pretty sure that this one is going to be a duology at the least, because it ends completely unfinished with this first book. So I know that things could change, and I'm really hoping they will change. But who the main character ends up with at the end of this one, I'm not feeling it. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. And there are some revelations and things along the way, but don't pick that person. Don't pick them. Don't do it. And the other one was from Ready Player 2. This is the sequel to Ready Player 1. He should have just left it at that, but I get the feeling that he saw the potential for another movie. This is also written something like 11 years or something like that after the first book, so it just reads as a money grab, which is disappointing. And we're gonna go into spoilers for this one, so when I put my hand down, the spoilers will be done. Basically, what's his name? I even forgot. Fuck, I can't even remember the main chick's name because I have just blanked this book out of my brain. Artemis. Okay, so Wade and Artemis. No, the way that he behaves in this book as a literal child, a man-child with no development, his character actually goes backwards compared to the first book. And how him and Artemis, or Sam Samantha, end up back together, she deserves a lot better than him. I hated it. I hated it so much. Question number 4 is a popular book genre that you don't tend to reach for. Now, the first one that came to mind when I saw this question was self-development. I don't know if that's more of like a category than a genre, however you want to see it. I tend to like to read books to get lost and to sort of be outside of myself, and self-development, self-help, improvement, not something that I tend to gravitate towards, but interestingly enough, it's actually one of the highest selling areas at work. So I know I should delve into these a little bit more, but I read to escape, and it's not something that I've really gotten into at this point in my life. Another genre would be horror, and that is just because I am a scaredy cat and I cannot watch scary movies. I was scared during the scary movie series phase. These ones. Can't do it. No. So horror for me, no. Okay, so question number 5, just before we get into it, it's probably gonna rile a few people up, and that's fine. That is totally okay. We're here to have some fun. But it is a popular or beloved character that you don't like. Rhysand in this book. This is A Court of Frost and Starlight. This is the novella and 4th book of the Court of Thorns and Roses series. This is the bridging book between the original trilogy and the nest of books and whatever else is coming after that. Rhys in this book annoys me. So for a character that I did enjoy for 2 of the original trilogy, I enjoyed Rhys in the 2nd and the 3rd book. This one is where his character kind of starts to fall down for me. And again, even more in the Nesta book, which is A Court of Silver Flames. In these 2 books, especially this one, Rhys becomes the biggest dick. I don't care if it's because of a particular story point, which comes up heavily during this book and is hinted a little bit in this book. He is an ass, and I cannot stand him anymore. This is the problem when authors keep on going with series sometimes, when you could have just had a trilogy and ended it. Some of your original characters, when you shift away from them and you look at them through someone else's eyes, like Nesta's, it ruins them. And it's done that here. I cannot stand him now. And I'm sorry, but there you go. Another really unpopular opinion would be Addie LaRue. I think the reason with this one is because she spends so much time in her own head. And this is one of the cases where I feel like the author is bleeding into her books, which I understand. In my point of view, you can't really separate the author from their work. But having followed V. Schwab on Instagram for a long time, I appreciate all she does and I will continue to read her books. But I felt her self-doubt and anxiety bleed into the page here a lot. And again, I read to escape and get outside of myself. I also have days where my head can feel a little bit messy. So reading a book that is this long with the main character that spends so much time in their head, and I think it's fair to say is very self-involved, was hard for me. And I just didn't connect with Addie like I thought I would. If you haven't heard of Addie LaRue, it is about a girl called Addie LaRue who makes a deal with the devil and essentially can live forever but is cursed with nobody ever knowing her. Then one day someone remembers her. So this is a very popular book and I can see why, but it didn't go there for me. I still liked it, but it's not my favorite from her. But this is gorgeous and like I said, we'll read everything from her. It's just this one kind of missed the mark. Question number 6 is a popular author that you just can't seem to get into. That's going to be Holly Black. Granted, I've only ever read the Cruel Prince trilogy, but I have read 3 books by her and it's not working for me and I don't think it's going to. So, short, sharp and sweet, Holly Black. So the second to last question is a popular book trope that you are tired of seeing. Okay. I've got a couple. The not like other girls trope. What's wrong with other girls? Can we move past this? We kind of have now, but whenever it comes up in books, it feels outdated and just kind of lazy and disrespectful to have your characters think that they're not like other girls or whatever. You can still write an individual character, but just get rid of that trope. Get rid of it. Another one would be something that Sarah J Maas loves to do, which really shits me off, and that is pairing everybody up into a couple. No, it's not realistic. You don't need to do it. You've got to put some heartbreak in there somewhere. You've got to have stakes that you actually follow through with. You've got to kill characters sometimes and leave them dead. Otherwise, I'm going to stop believing you're writing. And that's kind of what's happened. Number 8 is a popular series you have no interest in reading. This one was kind of hard because now that I work in a bookstore, I'm very open to reading a lot of different things. I think I'm going to go for the easy answer here and just say 50 Shades of Grey. Have absolutely no interest in this because, once again, don't like reading toxic relationships, and this series is older. It's already super duper popular, so I don't feel like I have to read it because I don't feel like it needs promoting at all. And then question number 9 is something like the saying goes that the book is always better than the movie, but in what instance was the adaptation better than... And I'm gonna go Lord of the Rings. I feel like I can't call myself a proper adult fantasy reader extraordinaire because I've only read the first one. So again, this could be completely unjust, but these books are so hard to get into. So hard to get into. Like, it's a struggle. But I love the movies and I've watched them multiple amounts of time. They are great. But the books, I can't super fan get into. And then just quickly, even though I haven't watched the TV show yet, I have heard a lot of people saying it is way better than the book, and that's A Discovery of Witches. Yes, I know that I've said didn't like this, but I feel like the TV show would tweak some of those things to make audiences like it more. So I am keen for the TV show of this one, and I do predict that it's going to be a more positive experience. So that's it, that's the book tag, but I did want to add in my own little bonus question on the end here, and that is name 3 books or series that you think deserve more hype. Now for this one, I'm going to say these 3 books. We have Only Mostly Devastated by Sophie Gonzalez. We have Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston, although this is the ARC copy, so the finished copy looks like this. And then we have Released by Patrick Ness. So just quickly, Only Mostly Devastated is a queer gender-bent Grease retelling with updated morals and tropes in it, I guess. To put it in perspective, again, controversially, I do not like the movie Grease. I don't like how you have to change to be with someone. I understand self-improvement, but if you're changing your entire personality just to get the person, no. In this one, it gets rid of that aspect, and I really enjoyed it. We follow Ollie and Will, who have a summer fling, and then they end up going to the same high school, and things aren't exactly like they were in the summer. It goes so much deeper as well. You have a main character who is dealing with a relative who is sick with cancer. You have side characters that develop so much over the course of the novel, and it's one of my favorite teen contemporary novels of all time, and you should definitely check it out. Definitely do it. And then we have Amari and the Night Brothers. This is such a good middle grade. It's so good. Apologies, my battery just died, but this one is phenomenal. I'm going to just put the finished copy here for you. If you enjoyed Nevermore by Jessica Townsend, if you enjoyed that famous wizarding book that everyone grew up with, this combines those two things and it's brilliant. In this one we follow Amari, who is missing her brother who has mysteriously disappeared, and one day a suitcase shows up and it's magic filled, and she learns that there is this secret society organization, and from there we kind of get into like a Men in Black type vibe where she has to go to this secret society and begin training and try and continue the search for her brother. It's all sorts of wonderful. If you haven't heard about it already, if you haven't picked it up already, put it on your wish list, go buy a copy. I loved it so very much. And then the final one is Release by Patrick Ness. In this one, we follow Adam Thorne over the course of a day. So we watch the characterization and progression of our main character as they undertake a normal day in their life. And at first, I was kind of hesitant because this author is one of my all-time favorites, but framing a story that takes place over a day, I didn't know if a lot could happen. And I was so very wrong. Wow, this is one of my favorites of this author's now, and there is like an A and B strand narrative that it flicks between. One of them is super duper mystical and kind of doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's only here and there, and then you get the main strand of Adam. So if you're finding that mystical narrative strand a bit jarring, keep on reading, get through it, it pays off. I loved how much heart was in this book. We have Adam, who is gay, but his parents are very involved in the church, and I think his dad is the local pastor or something like that, and it's really about coming to terms with his own self and acceptance within his family and what that could look like, and this sort of that in-between year of when you're about to finish high school and the world that you know, and then everyone's going to move on, and where do you fit into that? What's your next step? It's all in here. It's so good. Like, it gives me chills just thinking about it, and I've reread this a couple of times, and every time it holds up. So there you go. Those are my responses to the Unpopular Opinions book tag. If you want to do this, feel free, go ahead. Don't forget to check out the original creator down below. I will also leave links to my social media down below. And that's going to be it for this video. I hope you're doing okay out there, and that if you, like myself, are in a similar lockdown type situation, that you're finding a tiny little hint of joy in your day. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in another one. Bye!